Well, that was something. What's the best word? 2 words, 3 words. Steaming pile fecal matter. That's 4 words. Hey, welcome to Afterburner. A 5-1 victory for the Chicago Blackhawks in Calgary. The Blackhawks now have 4 of a possible 4 points against the Calgary Flames with 1 game remaining in the season series. Back at Barnburner headquarters, my name is Ryan Pinder, and there's Ryan Pike, our man on the scene, our reporter down at the Dome, who's back at home after covering this game at the Dome tonight. Ryan, was this the worst Flames performance of the season that you get to, grace us with your presence on Afterburner? Was that what we just witnessed?
Yes, they were.
Really?
To phrase it in my recap on FlamesNation.ca, they weren't particularly good at anything. What worked tonight? Markstrom was fine. He did not look bad, but he didn't steal anything for them. The defensive zone play was bad. Their transition game, bad. Yep. Neutral zone play, bad. Yeah. Puck management in the O-zone, bad. Yeah. Special teams, 0 for 2. Their first power play, they got outshot by Chicago.
First power play was awful. I think they would start declining them if this was the NFL. If you could just decline the power play, we'll just keep the play. We don't want the yardage.
I think Flames alternate captain Michael Backlund put it best, where he said he sort of asked some general thoughts in the game. He sort of made a face, rattled off a couple thoughts, and one of them was he thought Pelletier was good, and he thought everybody else needed to be a lot better. Yeah, and I mean, Pelletier was fine, but what worked tonight?
I have one
a bad team. What worked?
One thing I know, I don't even know. I'm just assuming because the intermissions were on time. The puck was dropped when it was supposed to be. I think the Zamboni was working. So
the Zamboni is working. The intermission programming was really good. They had the Timbits kids playing in the first intermission, and they were pretty good. They
might have had a better night tonight if they just kept going.
Yeah, I mean, some days you don't have it, but I mean. The thought process behind having a Darryl Sutter coach team, he mentioned this last year, and granted, different teams, he'll be the one that really emphasizes that whenever we talk to him about expectations this year versus last. Yeah. But last year, his phrasing was, if you don't have a good A game, you better have a good B game.
Their B game is dog shit, Ryan. I'm going to tell you right now.
Julian McKenzie from The Athletic after the game, we were talking about it. He sort of his comment was, is there a more Jekyll and Hyde team than the Flames this year? And I haven't seen everybody to the extent I've seen the Flames, but they're very schizophrenic. We'll probably end this in a little bit. You take away Chris Tanev and nothing works in the blue line group. And they were scrambly. They were, they had a lot of, zone exit plays that were basically panicky passes to somebody's feet or a foot behind somebody or to a Blackhawk, and then all of a sudden, Markstrom has to be sharp, and there was a lot of things that just were clunky and ugly and just plain bad.
Yeah, and let's just zoom out a bit here because tonight was awful. They weren't good. Certainly a candidate for worst game of the year. The only game I have not watched this season was the Buffalo game. That was not close. I thought they were awful at home against St. Louis before they departed on the road ahead of Christmas time with a run of 7 straight divisional games. It was a really disheartening loss when they dominated St. Louis through 40 and then fell in overtime. I thought they were pretty sloppy in Chicago. We're not just talking about, it was a bad game. We're talking about a team that came into play as the 32nd team in the NHL. It's a 32-team league, and that's now twice they've lost to said 32nd place team this season. The performance was awful, but this team is so much better than what we saw tonight. And it's a troubling trend that, they need overtime against Columbus, albeit a game where special teams was a nightmare and 5-on-5, they're probably a little bit better. It's just, all those teams I mentioned, there's not a lot of world beaters there. None of those teams I mentioned were really good teams. In fact, all of them might miss the playoffs. I would think they probably will. Buffalo probably misses. St. Louis probably misses. Chicago misses. That's 4 of their worst losses of the season off the top of my head. Aside from X's and O's here, this team has a problem showing up and playing well when they seem to face off against bottom dwellers. There has not been an easy night where they just say, we're up 4 and let's tuck this thing in. This was a fire drill, and it's probably because they didn't show up and work hard enough. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at I think the challenge is this. You got to hold teams accountable for their wins. And granted, the Tampa Bay team they faced earlier in the homestand was playing, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was an afternoon game, and Tampa Bay was playing their 4th game in 6 days. And yeah, so you're facing a team that sort of you have the structural advantage of they're tired. Okay, the Flames took it to them. The Flames outworked them. The Flames wore them down. Yeah. And at their best, the Flames play a structured puck possession game, which is designed to, they hold on to the puck, they wear you down, they frustrate the hell out of you, they make you make mistakes, and then they capitalize. And none of that was, in a lot of the games that you rattled off, there was none of that. There's none of the structure, none of the poise, none of the patience. I mentioned their bad offensive zone play. How many times in this game did we notice blind passes to no one at the point, or attempted passes through the Royal Road that there was no lane to put them through, and so they'd hit a foot or hit an ankle or hit a stick or go just wide and go nowhere and clear the zone? Like when your team is clearing the zone for the opposition, something's really, you got to make them work for it. You got to make them work for their zone exits, and they weren't doing that. And I just don't think, even I'd say the backline line with combinations of Pelletier and Mangiapane, and later on Blake Coleman came back on that line. But they were probably the Flames' best line, but they were okay at holding onto the puck and cycling, and they were probably the most dangerous line. But the consistency throughout the lineup wasn't there, and it's very disheartening that they're sort of an etch-a-sketch team where they have 2 good games, 3 good games, and all of a sudden they sort of shake things up, and all of a sudden they're like, well, what are they? Do you have to redraw this whole thing to figure out what you're doing?
Yeah, no, it's that I think this homestand has, I think, been a microcosm of the season, in a sense that they had an excuse to be bad, and they were against Colorado. It was a long road trip. They just got back. Rhett famously said days before it, like, they're going to suck on Friday, or Thursday, whatever it was, their first game back against Colorado. It was a Wednesday, 7:30 Wednesday. And it was like, okay, that felt like rock bottom. It was like, geez, like, you're not quick enough. Colorado's back. They just passed you. By points percentage, you drop out of a playoff spot. And then, to your point, okay, they might have been a little bit fatigued, but it was a healthy Colorado team relative to what they've had at other times, or a healthy Tampa Bay club. I think they had one minor injury. That's it. And you blow the doors off Tampa. That's a finalist in each of the last 3 Stanley Cups. And it was, there they are, and getting big saves, and they come back from 2-1, and they're applying pressure. And then it's like, oh, you just have to finish your homestand with the 2 worst teams in the league. Maybe a tip of the cap to Anaheim. 2 of the 3 worst teams in the league. In fact, when they both came in, they were both 32nd in league standings. The Flames allowed Columbus to get a point, and they give 2 to Chicago tonight. So take away your X's and O's. Is this team struggling against bad teams, or are we recency biasing the hell out of this thing because it's the last 2 we saw? They handled Tampa.
I think Jonathan Huberdeau said it best. He was asked, Wes Gilbertson for Post Media asked that question more or less after the game. Sort of, I think to paraphrase, he was asking if the coming off that game in Chicago where they were, they found ways to lose. He asked, hey, do you think you're underestimating these guys? And Huberdeau was like, it looks like it, doesn't it? And, that's
well, you know what? And Ryan, we have that clip, so let's listen right now. As you mentioned, Wes Gilbertson of Post Media talking to Jonathan Huberdeau. Nice goal to tie it up in the first. In fact, it felt like, okay, they might be awake now, and here you go. You're the better team. Take control in the final 40. Instead, from that point forth, they get outscored 4-0. Here's Huberdeau post-game.
I know you just had a game in Chicago a few weeks ago. Did you underestimate those guys tonight?
Oh, it sure looks like it. I mean, I think they come in here and we know it's not the best team in the league. They're the bottom of the standing, and we can't disrespect that. That's a lesson. And, they came in and they played well.
Yeah. Here's one of the things that drives me nuts. That's Jackson Stauber's second ever game in the NHL. Tell me about the best save he made or the time when the Flames made it really tough on him. I'll wait.
There were late power play where they had the couple scramble chances in front.
Yeah, and the game was over. And the game was over at that point, right?
If your goalie's having to make his first high danger save or his first memorable save late in the game, like Jacob Markstrom was a lot busier in terms of high danger chances, and Markstrom was good. Markstrom made more great saves, but Markstrom was asked to make more great saves than Stauber was. Yeah. And I mean, full marks for Jackson Stauber. He made the saves he had to make, and I thought Chicago's players, like, you know, that goal, the flip pass from Kane when both Flames defensemen went to go cover him. Like, that's full marks. Like, that's just, you know, setting up Jason Dickinson for that goal. I mean, Dickinson made a good pass. He made a good shot. Great for him. But everything that allowed that to happen is kind of freaky. And then I was so terrified that Blake Coleman was seriously injured when he crashed into the boards. Like, Blake Coleman laying out to try to break up the pass, doesn't get all of it, still goes to Lafferty, goes in the net, and then he just crashes and burns. And he threw it. He was slamming his stick against the boards. He was in pain. It was just that kind of a game for the Flames. And I think, great. It's good. It's great that, you know, guys are upset. It's great to see that Blake Coleman cares, because, you know, I think they were looking for a spark. This is the type of game, though, like you mentioned, you know, how good they were against Columbus. I mean, they weren't great against Columbus, but they were the better team. But they had you're playing Tampa Bay. Okay, it's Tampa Bay. It's Florida's old rival. So a couple of your new guys are really amped up. Coleman used to play there. He'll be amped up for whatever reason. History, and most of these guys, like none of the guys on the team right now, a few guys in hockey ops were with the Flames in 2004, but there's just an animosity throughout the organization towards Tampa Bay, and it just gives them a little bit of juice in this kind of game. So,
or they're just good, Ryan. Like, let's not build the narrative. Like, it was a measuring stick, and they showed up. It was a good team, and they worked hard.
Right, and Coleman said after the game against Colorado, where they weren't very good, he's like, his comment was, you know, I think he was trying to poo-poo the notion that they're struggling. He's like, hey, you know, we could just rattle off four wins in a row heading into the break, and then that's all everyone's gonna be thinking about. And he was right. They could have rattled off 4 wins in a row. They were upset about how they played in a measuring stick game against Colorado. Mm-hmm. They came out and, you know, kicked ass against Tampa. They were really good against Tampa. They were emotionally engaged because of the Johnny factor, the good Branson factor against Columbus, and they were in that game. It had a weird atmosphere, like a weirdly tense atmosphere for a Monday against, you know, Columbus in January. Mm-hmm. But it worked. Like, they were able to use the energy well. There was like no atmosphere, no energy, no juice against Chicago. And if you're Chicago and you're playing on the road against teams that are better than you, you love that, because you can just do your thing and just grind out kind of an ugly win. And in a game that didn't have a lot of emotion, the Flames allowed Chicago to dictate far more than they did.
Yeah, it was an easy game for Chicago. That was not hard. One of the things they struggled with, it wasn't like they didn't have chances. They just didn't turn chances into scoring chances. And I have some notes that, I was working very hard tonight. I'll read to you in the first period. 2-on-1, Mangiapane and Coleman. It's Mangiapane's pass misses. It's off a skate, just misses. Or it was shot wide, one of the two. Power play, they can't set up the zone in the first. A 4-on-2, no shot. That's when the net came flying off. There was a yard sale. Coleman shot misses the net. Coleman on a 2-on-1 again. That I don't believe they got a shot, or he settled for something that wasn't great. Like, if you have a 4-on-2, you got to hit the goddamn net. And I know that's, like, if you're picking a corner and it goes in, we're all applauding you, and that's an inch away from us saying hit the net. But they had chances early, and they really didn't do anything to test the netminder in his second ever game in this league. They did not make life difficult on the Hawks, and it was the scariest part, and you alluded to it earlier, and we'll probably get to it now, the amount of defensive breakdowns this club had. It's just, this doesn't look like a Sutter team defensively. I think all the ingredients are there for this to be a Darryl team. They have goalies that have been good or can be good. They look like they had a deep blue line. They do have a lot of checking, grinding, forechecking, physical forwards. But where it doesn't match up, they're 15th in goals against in the league. That is nowhere near where they should be if they're playing the way Darryl wants. That is a massive, massive problem here is, okay, I started talking about not creating chances offensively. Whatever. This team is wrong when they are loose defensively, and that's been way too often for a Darryl coach team. And yeah, there's some changes here, but more up front than on the blue line. Like, you lost 2 of your best 6 defensemen, 1 to personal issues, the other to free agency. There's a lot of continuity there. You brought in a good player in Mackenzie Weegar, and too many nights there's grade A chances, odd man rushes, simple mistakes, simple plays that are instead mistakes. Like Zadorov and Weegar both don't cover the same guy. I know it's Patrick Kane, but you don't both go to him. It's a 2-on-2. Figure out who the fuck is covering who. Don't go to the same guy.
I'll add a bit to that. I'm gonna say a nice thing about a player, then say a mean thing about another player. So it's not just the defenseman though. And I think that's the frustrating part because, here's an example. So the Flames had that bad power play in the beginning of in the middle of the first period, and then Darryl hit shuffle, and we had some new lines. One of the new lines was they put Pelletier on the backline line. And so first shift I noticed with the Pelletier on that line, Chicago and Patrick Kane actually with the puck carrier, Flames turn over Chicago grabs a loose puck, starts heading through the neutral zone. And the F3, the first forward back in the neutral zone, the winger, is Pelletier. And he notices, hey, guy in white is heading up into the zone. And he hauls ass back. And granted, Patrick Kane, despite his age, is still fast. Pelletier just gets his stick in the lane, just starts poking, just gets his stick in there so that, Kane can't make a pass once he enters the zone. He's a little bit flustered, and they turn the puck over and go the other way. Good little play. On the first Chicago goal, Milan Lucic, in the exact same kind of situation, can't quite catch up. And Milan Lucic, his skating style is like a train getting going. So it takes him a while to get up to speed, and then he can't slow down quickly enough because of momentum. And so he ends up doing the drive-by on the puck carrier, just sort of like a quick little swat on his way past. And there is no disruption. Chicago establishes the zone and is able to do a lot of little things. And I don't put defensive zone play all on the defenseman. You need to have your especially on the rush, your F3, your first forward back, there to disrupt. Because if you disrupt, then it's, D to D pass and you're out again. Great. If they don't come back deep enough or they don't disrupt on the way back. And I think that's the detail right now that's really frustrating when you're watching the Flames when their game is off, because the first thing that the canary in the coal mine for them is their transition play, their ability to make those quick passes and get out of the zone. The other canary in the coal mine is their F3 getting back and disrupting. And it was so inconsistent in this game, and it made Chicago's life so much easier. They were able to hit the Flames blue line with speed, with numbers. Like they were having the time of their life. It was like a shooting gallery. Yeah,
well, and look, F3, I'm sure there's issues there. When it's a 2-on-2, you both don't go to the same guy. And then also, if you're Noah Hannafin and your partner's already pinched, you might also not want to pinch. Otherwise, you have Jonathan Huberdeau as the last man back, and then Blake Coleman as the second defender. Let's not try that one again, folks, shall we?
Mistakes were made.
Many mistakes were made. Okay, so you mentioned Markstrom. Let's have a look. We got a montage of some Markstrom saves. And in fact, we'll go this way. Our cheers of the game is for BK Bowfort Liquor. You know where they're located, Pike, right across from Winsport. On your way out of town on the Trans-Canada, stop in, maybe grab a bottle of something nice on your way to maybe Jasper tomorrow. Are they open early enough for me? I'll be passing by. Say hi to Mandeep and the crew, as all the Flames do. And, we've seen lots of photos. Lanny, Jerome, and others stopping by to say hello. Do the same. Say hi to Mandeep over at BK Bowfort Liquor. Who's your cheers of the game, Ryan?
I'm going to go with Jacob Markstrom. Was he Jacques Plante? Was he covering up all the Flames' mistakes? No. I'm pretty sure he wants that first goal back, the one that sort of handcuffed him a bit. But overall, if you look at the goals he gave up, so many of them were just weird, dumb things happening in front of him. And you would have almost needed to have two goalies in net to cover up for some of those mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to give Markstrom it tonight, it makes sense. He was hung out to dry. The quality of chance was way too high. He didn't have a lot of help. I still think he doesn't look right. And I think he competed tonight. But, like, I'm seeing this guy's name bar on TV too often. You know what I mean? It's like Kari Ramo vibes. Like, you may make the first save, but you're not in a position to make a second save from whatever reason. And Dan Vladar in similar spots is positioned to make second saves. He's not flailing or overcommitting. And we saw it on that highlight pack. He makes a great save, but he's literally looking into the corner. His name bar's on TV. If there's someone to grab a rebound, he's not there. So I will accept your cheers to Jacob Markstrom, who got completely laid out. Like, look at this. There he is. Oh, there's the name bar. His ass is facing the puck at the right point. Like, he is not playing good hockey right now. I admire the effort. He kept them in this. It was 1-1 through 20 minutes. This loss is not on him, but he's not right. This might be the worst year of his career since establishing himself as a starter.
And if you look at how they've been managing the goaltenders the last few games, I mean, if we're being honest here, they've kind of been leaning on Dan Vladar the last little bit.
Why wouldn't you?
Getting the starter starts. I mean, your first half of back-to-back, you're playing a god-awful Chicago team. And this seemed like a game from a scheduling standpoint. If we were sitting down with the Flames goaltending staff and saying, okay, when do you want to put Markstrom in? This seemed like the game to do it. It's against the Chicago team. They ended up not having Jonathan Taves, because
that's right, late scratch, yeah.
So they didn't have. It wasn't exactly a murderer's row. This isn't exactly the murderer's row of Madison. It is the 22-23 Chicago Blackhawks who are dreaming of Adam Fantilli or Connor Bedard or Theo Carlson.
Yeah, they're not.
They're going to get one of those three guys. They're going to be a team. We'll get into this at another time at another place. Some team is going to settle for Adam Fantilli and be like, oh, dang, we end up getting a really good.
Well,
shucks.
Ask Buffalo about Eichel. I think when this is a year you want to be bad, and there's many teams aware of it. The Hawks players and coaches aren't trying to lose. Their GM has put together a lineup that assuredly will finish in the bottom three here.
Yeah, Kyle Davidson understood the assignment, and
yes,
they're gonna get worse. Like
Athanasiou, Domi, McCabe. I mean, yes, anyone that's on the top half of the roster whose deal's coming up soon, you're gone.
It'd
be silly not to.
I would say anyone good on Chicago, free your best offer. Like
if you're not young, yes, 100%. Okay. So you're going to cheers Jacob Markstrom, although we acknowledge this is Markstrom still, despite the cheer of a lack of other option else. Pelletier got some love from Backlund there. I think he's playing with pace, but I also want to see him, get on the score sheet here before drastic things could happen with the coach. I think he needs to start bearing some chances, not that he's not looking good. I don't know. Am I crazy on that?
I'll say this. I mean, it felt like from Daryl's comments after the game, he mentioned, he's trying to, he thought Jonathan was all over it and wanted to put him with guys with some poise. Pelletier was really good. Pelletier was doing smart things. He wasn't panicking. He was keeping his shift short. He was doing, smart little things here and there. And then he was just getting the hell off the ice. And, despite all that, like he almost doubled. I think he might have doubled his previous season high for ice time. So he went from like 650 to 7-something to 1520.
Good.
And
yeah. Okay.
He was he was good. He was used like a guy they were using to get a spark out of other lines. And when you finish the game playing with Kadri and Huberdeau, okay, good for you. Like I think that's pretty good. I think the question is, can he be a guy that can give them a little bit more? Because this was the type of night where this is the type of team that Daryl has said it sometimes when he maligns the roster construction. they don't have guys who can be difference makers, and they have to do it by committee. And sometimes, Walker Duehr is in the lineup because Walker Duehr does not hurt you, and occasionally Walker Duehr makes the hell of a play and makes you go, Walker Duehr, they got him for nothing. He was a free agent, Yeah. So if you're Pelletier, I mean, he's shown well in the 3 games he's been in, but can he, on Friday against Seattle, can he go into Seattle on a night where they're going to be pissed off about their performance tonight, and they're going to need a spark? They're going to play in a tough building against a good team on the road. They're going to need a spark. So can 49 be a difference maker in that kind of way? Give them a little bit more to get them going in the game. They're definitely going to need to get going in.
Yeah, I'll give him my cheers. I think you've convinced me. The ice time is, I didn't notice that, 15:21. That is absolutely
he had surpassed his previous high halfway through the second period.
Yeah, there you go. And I get it. Like, he's going. I've liked him. I've been waiting for the coach to like him, and I think tonight it might have been, again, not unlike the Markstrom cheers, a lack of better options, because not a lot of guys were going tonight, but that's good to see. If you want Jacob Pelletier to be around this club a while longer, the coach playing him, as you noted, like double his previous high, that's a significant development in an ugly 5-1 loss. So, hey, raise your glass, Pike. We're going to cheers to Markstrom and Pelletier. All right, very good. For BK Bowfort Liquor, Mandeep coming up to Jasper this weekend. Going to be good.
I hope you guys have fun and don't get into too much trouble.
I also hope we have fun and don't get arrested. We're good. We got a lot of wives on the trip. Everyone's going to be well behaved. There's no problems. No problems.
I heard the Oilers Nation guys are bringing all their ladies. So, they're going to be well behaved or behaved
enough.
Oh,
of course. Yes. Yeah. We'll see. No Tanev. We talked about it. They're 1-7-2 without him. You're around these scrums more than anyone else at FlamesNation. Give us your vibes on, he's not going to play the next 2, and that'll get us through the All-Star break. Did you hear that as he'll be back after the All-Star break, or that they're hoping it'll be soon after? They didn't quite rule out a long-term injury, but the messaging was that this is, they might have dodged a bullet.
It felt like next 2, and we'll see. I think the term was, it wasn't the worst case scenario. It looked bad when it happened. So I think everyone is very glad that we didn't hear the surgery word kicked around. Yeah. But also, I mean, it depends. He's one of those guys that's always kind of banged up. That's just the style of game he plays. And maybe, a week off gives him a chance just to relax. They put him in an ice bath for a full week and then sort of see how he feels. But I think they're probably going to be trying just to let him reset and then see how things go. But that first practice back after the break is going to be really interesting, because they're going, they go to Seattle, then they come home, then they take their break, and then their first game back is, I believe, Monday night in New York. Yep. So against the Rangers. So, I mean,
they got 9 days. They could go anywhere. They'd probably go to Cabo and back rather than here. Who knows?
I have a feeling I'm going to see some guys on my flight on Sunday.
Where are you flying Sunday?
I'm going to Hawaii on Sunday.
Oh, baby. Wow. Pike, living large. Cashing those FlamesNation checks, baby.
Yeah, I'm not going to Jasper because I'm just gonna rather than spending my time by the mountain, I'm spending my time by volcanoes.
Well, I mean, it's -15 or +30. It's up to you. Everyone, I'd call it a push. To each their own.
Yeah, it'll be good. But yeah, I think he's such I would say Tanev is the Backlund of the defensive group, where if you have a Backlund to anchor that middle 6 group, Backlund plays second unit power play, first unit penalty kill, basically all the high leverage minutes that you want to free up Lindholm for offensive opportunities. That's when he and Uyghur are together, they're a very good borderline elite shutdown pair. The offense doesn't exist, but that's stuff they're paying him for. When you don't have him,
the defense is dog shit. And people are on
bad.
Twitter like, "Dang, you're blaming Tanev, you're crazy." So I'm not blaming anything. Like, Tanev in tonight would have given you one good defender. That might be the only one they had tonight. But it's just a trend that is hard to ignore, because it's not just the 9 games he's missed this year. It's the series against the Oilers. And even when he came back with one limb, you could just see how that settled things down defensively. And I'm not here to say that they beat Chicago if Tanev's in. What I am here to say is that they're noticeably much more leaky and less stable defensively when he's gone. And I think I used a bunch of double negatives there, so I'm sorry if there's.
Well, and let's be honest. Like they're the team's best transition. Like they're kill it and move it out pairing last year was Shillington and Tanev. If guys came in with speed, one of those two guys would angle them out, take the puck from them, pass the other guy, they'd be up the ice before you realize what happened. And no Shillington this year has made the team's transition game noticeably slower. And you take away Tanev, who, despite he's not Shillington level in his mobility, but he plays fast. He processes things and he goes, okay, do this, we're out. And he's also probably the best communicator with his pairing partners on the ice. And you brought up, the whoopsie on the Dickinson goal with both guys going to it. It's guys that don't play together a lot, just going to the same guy and not saying, I got it, I'm over here.
No, and I have not watched it enough times, but my hunch is you've got Zadorov on the right playing his offside, Weegar on the left when he's supposed to be playing the right, and then Kane's there. So they're both like, ooh, Patrick Kane. So Weegar's like, well, I'll just slide over because I'm the right side guy. And Zadorov's like, well, this is Kane. I can't leave him be. And next thing you know, Jason Dickinson's all alone in the slot. I mean, I think them being on the wrong side of the ice maybe helps that mistake. I'm not justifying it. You can't. It's a 2-on-2. Take a man.
A lot of
but
times,
they were on the wrong side, right?
A lot of times in the Flames zone, like if somebody's coming in and he's the lone forechecker with the puck, and like Stone and Zadorov do this a lot when they're playing together, where if Stone, is too far away, Zadorov just cuts over and just crosses over and just pinches them out. And you can get away with that when the third forward is way the hell back. Like if he's already back high the zone and you only have one opposition forward anywhere near anything, great, you can get away with that. You can just angle them off and take the puck away. But the situational awareness for both those guys, and the forward, I have no idea where the hell the forwards were on that one too. But I think a lot of guys just were not doing good things away from the puck in this game. That's
fair. That totally is. Okay, it's time for Buy It or Sell It for Derrick Newman of the Newman Deans Real Estate Group with CAR Realty. Send him an email, dnewman@carrealty.ca, or give him a call, 403-619-6661. Pike, I don't know if you knew it, you now have a friend in real estate in Derrick Newman. How about that? You might have multiple friends.
I did know that Derrick is my friend in real estate.
There you are. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to give you a comment. Buy it means, yeah, I agree. Sell it's like, nah, I'm not taking the bait. That is not correct. Pay attention. The Flames are not one of the best 8 teams in the Western Conference. Buy or sell. And I could give you some context while you think if you'd like.
Okay.
The loss tonight drops them to 9th in points, 10th by points percentage. They're 19th in the league. That's out of the top 16 by points percentage. They are 23rd on the power play, 19th in goals for, 15th in goals against, 15th in 5-on-5 scoring. The only things they're in the top third in the league at, penalty kill, shots for, shots against, the shot margins, we get it. They haven't resulted in necessarily the scoring chance margins that would be comparable, but this is who they are through 49 games.
The results say buy, because like definitively so far, like they're a team that has, the shape of their game has been good, but the details haven't been. And granted, I mean, Dom Session at The Athletic noted, like, I think Dom still has them 80-ish% for.
They're 84 this morning.
Yeah, I think they might be down. They're obviously down a little bit, but they're around 80% for making the playoffs. And people going, the Flames, but the Flames have the second easiest schedule from here on out. But as Dom noted halfway through the game on Twitter, they have to beat the teams that they're playing. And they've had trouble against some of the lesser lights. So right now, until they can show they can rattle off a few against the odds and sods of the league, I think you have to buy.
I'm with you. I'm buying it. I have been preaching patience and that, players are going to more likely be the players they've been their whole careers than suddenly look like different people. But Jonathan Huberdeau is not a game breaker. He's not a superstar this year. and certainly not on line with Lucic and Kadri has he been that. I didn't mind seeing Pelletier there for a bit tonight. Jacob Markstrom is not getting Vezina votes this year. He had got a significant number of them in 2 of the last 3 seasons. And for whatever reason, a group that prides himself in terms of Darryl and his coaching philosophies on being tight defensively has given up way too many high danger chances, odd man rushes, like simple defensive breakdowns, not playing 2-on-1s properly. I think absolutely they could be a playoff team when all is said and done, but they need people to start getting back to, who they are when things are going well. Jacob Markstrom, Mangiapane in the second half starting to look better on that line with Backlund and Coleman for sure. I love that goal from Huberdeau, but it kind of doesn't mean anything when you allow the next 4. They aren't one of the best 8 right now. They're just not. They're not going to catch Colorado, in my opinion. If Edmonton gets any semblance of goaltending and defense, they're not going to catch them because they can shoot the lights out. I don't like their team versus Minnesota between now and the end of the year who can collect more points. So who are you going to reel in? Never mind the Nashville one, I think, is now on points percentage past them. I think you could finish ahead of Nashville quite easily. Like, you're almost counting on someone like LA stubbing their toe. Like, I like those projection models, and Dom's is one of the best public models out there. He gambles against Vegas every year and wins. That's crazy. But it's tough to believe in this group when you see the scale of like brain farts they make defensively, because I think the whole way Darryl coaches is, we'll take back some offense because we need to be really solid on defense, and they're not even that. So now you're a team that struggles to score and you're shitty defensively.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's the identity of this team this year? Because the
coach fighting with the media.
The thought process was, well, they're gonna, they're gonna, like, they lost a lot of goals. Like, you can't dress it up. They lost 2.5. Monahan was a half man at that point because his body was so banged up. But thankfully, hopefully he's healthy again. He's having a good season. But yet, if 3 guys who were really reliable scorers and really good players for you. And so, you lost them and it sucks. But, you're replacing them with Nazem Kadri, who really seemed to fit the DNA of this team and has been pretty good.
Yep.
But I think the thought process was, okay, like, Kadri will give you a little bit of the nastiness that Tkachuk brought, and we will make the defensive group a little bit better. And then even when we found out that Shillington wasn't going to begin the year with the team, people were like, they went out and they got some guys, but Nick Milosh has been, even at the American League level, disappointing. Yusuf Valimaki had a bad camp and then got claimed on waivers, and good for him. He's having a great season, and he just re-signed for another season with Arizona. I mean, great. That's the way waivers are supposed to work. Guys who aren't fitting and aren't clicking in one area get a chance to go somewhere else, but it hurts Calgary's depth.
Yep.
I don't think anyone really expected that the 7th best defenseman on the Flames would be Dennis Gilbert, because if Dennis Gilbert, all due respect to Dennis Gilbert, love the player. He's very good for the costs he's given them. He's been good in every league they've played him in. If Dennis Gilbert is a guy that you're going, man, thank God Dennis Gilbert is here, you probably have some depth issues. And Brad Treliving said this the first day of training camp. He was asked about the team's defensive depth, and this was after we found out that Shillington wasn't starting the season here. His exact phrasing, I always remember this, was, it's only depth that they perform. And I would argue they haven't had depth because the guys haven't performed. And it's been an issue. And, I don't think there's a cavalry coming. And I think, even if Shillington comes back, it'll take him a while to get going. And who knows what he's going to be like. So, like, I think the team defense is a huge problem. And I don't know what's going to make it better.
Yeah, that's well put. Yeah, I mean, they're without half of their top 4 from last year right now. Shillington, 0 games. Tanev missing his 9th tonight. 1-6-2 without Tanev. Do you remember that Sunday against San Jose that they won without Tanev?
Magical Sunday. It was a weird hockey game.
It sure was. Okay, so that is buy it or sell it for Derrick Newman of the Newman Deans Real Estate Group with CIR Realty. Give him a call, 403-619-6661. He's not a vampire. I have to clear that up. The last afterburner, Dean went a little haywire. People were texting asking if he was a vampire. Derrick Newman, not a vampire, but a very good real estate agent. So there you have it. If there's any, concern or confusion surrounding things there.
Derrick's going to get the weirdest.
He's getting more texts. Yeah, he's getting more. It's like, was there afterburner? Yeah, there was afterburner last night. Damn it, you guys. Seattle tomorrow. Here's the thing with the Flames, Ryan, and I think you might agree with me. They looked awful tonight. It was a really, really, really bad game. That's a strong candidate for the worst game they'll play in the 82-game regular season. I kind of think they might be good tomorrow. Yeah, and that's on the road, with travel, without Tanev. Maybe Dennis Gilbert comes in and Connor Mackey goes away. But I wouldn't be surprised.
It's a schedule loss against a divisional opponent in a building that is becoming very tough to play against, between a good hockey club and a terrifying mascot. I mean, that's a tough building to play against. And I agree with you. I think, they're going to be playing their number one goalie, Dan Vildar, most likely. And they're going to be a group that gets off that plane pissed off. And
they better be.
Good.
Yeah.
So I think I always say, you always know what Flames team you're going to get in the first 10 minutes, and pay attention to their breakouts. If they have those quick breakouts and they can play with some speed, watch out, Seattle. If it's more of, one and done, or pucks that hit feet or miss guys by 9 feet or something, then it could be another long night, and it's going to be a late start. So having to, if fans have to stay up an extra hour to watch a game that was anywhere close to as bad as the one we just saw, people are going to be kind of cranky heading into the All-Star break.
They get 4 of 8 points on this homestand with the loss tonight. Wins over Columbus and Tampa, but not against Colorado and last place Chicago. Although they did give a point to last place Columbus 3 days ago. So it's all confusing. They'll have a chance to make it, what would it be? 6 of their possible 10 points heading into the break with a win over Seattle. They're going to need that solid effort against a team that I don't think is going away in the Pacific. In fact, by points percentage, they're first in the Pacific. They do not necessarily have superstars up front, but reading some on social around the Seattle team and how they're built, they're not even getting spectacular goaltending. They're just deep as hell at forward. They got a lot, like lines deep of guys that, he'll have 20, he'll have 20, he'll have 20. And surprising to everyone, they're a top 5 offensive team in the league in terms of goals for. In fact, top 3 for most of the season.
And they're getting goals from the guys you'd hope they get goals from, but they're getting goals from, odd places. Like, I didn't think anyone did anyone really bet on a Sam Gagner offensive renaissance this year? But he's been really good for them, and he doesn't.
Ellie Tolvanen off waivers,
again, this is how waivers is supposed to work. Like, Tolvanen goes to a place that had an opening, and they gave him a chance, and he's been a great fit. And that's kind of Seattle's whole thing, where they've been, last year they basically took whoever they could get, and they sold off a lot of pieces, and everyone knew they'd be selling off a lot of pieces. So it was a weird year. A lot of guys were hurt. A lot of guys got sick. It was just a not great first year. But I think they went through that process with eyes open. And when people go, they'll learn from this, Seattle learned from that season. They kept the right guys. They haven't had Chris Drieger all year, and they haven't missed a beat. They have depth in every position. And I would argue they don't have any elite players yet, because Shane Wright is still very young,
and Beniers will be there. Yeah,
but they're ahead of schedule. They're good. They're well coached. They're deep. They're fast. They play structured hockey, and they're the type of team that you can beat them, but you're gonna have to be prepared to get your ass kicked a bit to get 2 points out of their building.
Yeah, and if you want to play defense, the back half of the puck, gonna need that tomorrow, fellas. You were hinting at it before we got on air. You think Mackey out, Gilbert in is a thing, or is it no skate, no practice for Gilbert, so the coach might be hesitant? What's your read on that?
Nothing at this point would surprise me. I think we're going to see Dan Vildar, because that's just how it's going to work.
Yeah, for sure.
I wouldn't bet against seeing one or both of Ruzicka or Mackey. Maybe they go 11-7. Because that way they can try some different things on the blue line.
Right.
Maybe I think it's going to be one of those things where we're going to get surprised at warm up, because I think the coaching staff was unhappy with a lot of different players, and you can't bench everybody.
No, if you bench the guys that were bad, I think you'd have Pelletier, Vladar, Ruzicka, and Gilbert on the ace.
Yeah, but Gilbert's played a lot of
They
road
like
games
him.
for the team.
Yeah.
And he plays a really low energy, low risk, low, he it sounds very boring, and it's not. He fights.
No, he's in your face,
He's
but
glassing
it's,
out. Those are the two things he does, and
it's low risk. Yeah,
he's been good for them, and he's been the same guy. He plays a very predictable style of play, and if you're a coach, after the unpredictability of the defense that you saw on Thursday night, I think some predictability would be nice.
Yeah, no doubt. The 3-1 and 4-1 goals felt like the backbreakers in this game. Down 2-1 to Chicago early or midway through the second isn't a death sentence at all. This is one of the easiest teams to score on in the league. But 3-1, you get two defensemen going over to Kane. Dickinson all alone, makes no mistake. And then 4-1, 2D caught up ice. It was Huberdeau. Yeah, so let's have a little look here. There's Markstrom allowing. Let's see where we're at. This is probably the second one. Yeah, looked like that tip off a body through a screen of sorts.
Yeah.
Boris Kachuk. Both of the guys that got back for Hagel scored tonight. Never mind the two first-rounders.
And Luke Philp got his first NHL point.
Oh, my God. Yeah, former Flame against the Flames. Never seen that before. And then, yeah, here you are. How is Jonathan Huberdeau last man back? The hell is going on, guys? And then, yeah, why not an empty netter for good measure, eh? Oof. That's a hoof.
We should have set that to the Benny Hill theme.
Yeah, I don't know that we've got the copyright for the Benny Hill theme on this particular platform. But Pike, thank you for doing this. You know what you've earned? You should go have a cold beer at a bar somewhere, maybe like while you're doing work sometime. Do you have any examples of how Pike could reward himself for coming on Afterburner? You get a pen, some paper, cold beer, settle in for something
Pen and paper. I have far too much work to do. There's
Maybe
a game tomorrow.
Maybe a pen from a bartender and a napkin. Could you do that?
Some of us work non-school nights.
Oh,
Friday night, I'm going to be covering a hockey game.
I will be in a pubs drinking beer, and the hockey might be on? Question mark. Pike, thank you. Appreciate it. 5-1. Yeah, see, look at this, me working. A little flyby. Let's show you my napkin. I didn't have it written down, but if I needed to, yeah.
You're prepared.
That's right. Drinks on me next time we see you there, all right?
I'll hold you to that.
Kick your ass at NBA Jam, sucker.
Oh, very much so.
Thanks for doing this. Appreciate your work. Always enjoy the conversations. I have more I want to talk to you about. Not today, but we'll do this again sometime soon. I'd love to bring you in studio for one of the barn burners when we get a little more time or someone's on vacation, things like that. I really enjoy how thorough you are. Your knowledge of the CBA is sensational, and never mind just the whole organizational depth chart. And of course, arena goings on as well, and you've hinted that there's something happening on Monday. So
the day I get back from vacation, they have a meeting.
There you go. Now, plug your work. Where can we find you, and the best places to support Mr. Pike?
Right now, the best place to support me and Pinder and Boomer and everyone in our little family is going to FlamesNation.ca.
There you go.
We have articles, columns, rundowns, prospect stuff. The best Wranglers coverage you're going to find anywhere. And
no kidding.
Fight anyone that says otherwise. Page and Gould cover the hell out of that team. And as we get towards the trade deadline, our Robert Munich has been just diving deep into a lot of trade targets. That'll continue, and we're gonna have more stuff as the year goes on, and eventually we'll transition into draft coverage where we'll profile some of the most obscure young children you've ever heard of. They're young children to us because Pinder and I are in our 30s, but
incorrect. I'm actually in my 20s, or I'm 41.
You're aging backwards.
No comment
right?
either
You're
way.
aging
Yes.
backwards.
Yeah, the man bun takes off 12 years. I'm in my 20s. Pike, thank you. Appreciate it. Find him on Twitter, writing at flamesnation.ca, and the odd bit of Flames Nation video as well. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. 5-1 Flames lose. Better not suck like that tomorrow, fellas, or it'll be a miserable all-star break. See ya.